All right, welcome back everyone to the Week 5 post-game show here in Massachusetts Legacy Leagues. A very interesting week, maybe for different reasons than most people think. Some games that didn't go the way everyone thought it was going to go, but we'll talk about that all and more. I'm joined by Matt, Steven, Pierce this week. I'm your host, Cade. We're going to just get right into it with a very interesting game between Who's Next and We Got Us. All right, Who's Next actually took this one. I actually didn't write down the score. Let's see, 58-47. Very low scoring game, especially for Who's Next, who's known for kind of scoring the most. But they had a tough matchup last week against Glock Boys, so wasn't high scoring from them last week either. So two little lower scoring weeks for them, but they come out with the dub, which is what's important for them. For We Got Us, it was kind of a even scoring game throughout the whole roster. Shy Hicks led the way with 13. For Who's Next, Angel Serenio, 21 points. That's his second week in a row being the top scorer on that team. I think going into the season, if you look at all their All-Stars and all those players' accolades, he might have been one of those guys we thought maybe would fall back a little bit on the scoring chart. But as we've seen from other seasons when he's played with like multiple MVP level caliber players, he's somehow had 2 or 3 games where he's the top scorer, and he kind of just has those quiet games where he takes over in the paint, and that's where we see him shine, is in the paint. Following him up, Darwin with a 14-point game, not the most clean game we're used to seeing from Darwin from the shooting percentage, but he did hit all his free throws, and I think that's what changed this game. Free throws was really what determined this game. I think We Got Us missed 10 of them, and they lost by 8. Or they lost by, let's see, how much did they lose by? They lost by 11. So that 10 definitely would have put them in a different spot at the end, not having to foul and letting up, 6 free points at the end. But I definitely think it was a free throw difference, but there also was a player missing. And I know Darwin says like he doesn't like when players get to use that excuse of someone missing, but this player definitely changes a We Got Us team. So Steven, I'll leave you to kind of talk about that. Talk about Derek, because he wasn't here this week and he's usually a leader in scoring and defense.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Revelis on the top plays many times this year so far. And, even though we don't like to use that excuse of, missing players, but when you have a guy who kind of just controls the tempo of the game, good on offense, an elite perimeter and post defender, who we've seen change possessions, create turnovers for the opponent, and kind of in the game that we said earlier, Cade, of being a free throw shootout, We Got Us got sent to the line for 20 free throw attempts, and they only made 10. So the end of that game definitely could have shaped a different way. You had one player who fouled out, another one at 5 fouls, and then you had another 2 at 3. So the fouls were definitely a reason why the Who's Next snuck away with a victory here. But I think we're going to see this matchup again sometime in the future, and hopefully it is healthy with Revelis. I'd like to see the two squads at a full potential go at it.
No, totally. I mean, this was probably Who's Next toughest game. Whether they did it to themselves is a different story. We Got Us definitely gave them a battle, though. I mean, they were missing a lot of guys. Only had 5 guys. Or actually, they had 6. And 2 of those guys are usually those guys that don't really get into the rotation that much. So when those guys fouled out, they kind of had to change up their game plan and kind of rely more on, guys who aren't hitting those big time shots that we're used to seeing in this league. So some guys kind of got put under the light that they're not used to, and it just fell apart at that end. I think they are up going into that third quarter, but the last 2 minutes really just fell from them. The game got away, and Who's Next has championship level players, experience, and they're all veterans, so they were able to close out and know what it takes to win in those final 2 minutes. We'll move on to our second game. This is the real interesting game. Not too much to talk about from it, but there's some stuff to talk about, and that's Glock Boys OTM. All right, OTM won this. Some would say an upset, but once you hear really what happened, not really an upset. OTM took this 75-70 over Glock boys. Some saying one of the favorites to be in the finals for the Glock boys, but their team didn't really show up. And Gio showed up, but he's been fighting an injury, and he tweaked it even a little bit, so he was out, I think, for after like 5 minutes. It was a 3v4. And then Day Taylor, one of their bench players, hurt his knee, and he had to go. And there's two guys, and then like the refs look at me like, what do we want to do? There's 2v4, no one wants that. And then Gio subbed back in, so they played 3-on-4. Gio was obviously in pain the whole time, but he didn't want his boys have to forfeit a game or go 2-on-4. Even though 2-on-4, I don't even know if Joey would allow that, but it would have been interesting to see. It was a close game though somehow. It was a 5-point difference, and it was a 3v4. And the last time I saw a 3v4 was when I interned, 3 years ago, 4 years ago now. Shout out Gian Avedigian of the RI Warriors down in Rhode Island, because he was on that 3-person team. He scored, I think, 90 points for his team to win. So I was thinking, wow, I've seen 2 3v4s, and going into that fourth quarter, I'm like, if Glock boys win this, I would have seen 2-3 teams win the 2 games I've seen. So that would have been cool, but the game kind of slipped away at the end. Glock boys were forced to take some tough shots towards the end of the quarter, just because OTM kind of locked in on the last 2 minutes, and they were like, wow, we cannot lose to a team of 3. Even though that team of 3 most likely has the MVP so far, Amandi Weaver, who scored 34 points, 8 rebounds, followed by Samaj's 12 points coming from the 3-point line, or 3-point line. And then Gio did everything he could with a bum shoulder, 14 points, 10 rebounds. Pierce, I'll go to you. Talk about OTM, what they had to do to kind of secure the win. I mean, should have they won by 30? Probably. But talk about what they did in those final minutes.
For OTM in the final minutes, they played probably the same throughout the whole game, or at least in the second half. I just know they every time really there was a basket or a rebound, they just tried to counter it, tried to take advantage of whatever fast break they could, and they just tried to get up there. Sometimes they were shooting threes, sometimes they were just they were shooting threes kind of often, and sometimes they would just run to the basket, but they were kind of just taking jumpers.
Yeah, they're taking jumpers when I feel like you could have called a timeout, made a little bit of a game plan to break down a 3-person defense when it's 4v4. There definitely was easier ways to play defense. I think they were doing like a zone, which is just weird to do when you got 4 versus 3. You should have double teamed Amandi, I think, the whole game, and just left whatever put your 2 lesser defenders on Amandi, and then put your 2 better defenders on the other guys. I think that's just how you win, and how you eliminate any scoring from Amandi. Just constantly double team them. Yeah. So this was like a 2.5v4 with Gio's injury. Matt, I'll give you a chance to talk. Talk about, I mean, the Glock boys were so close to coming away with this. Was there anything they could have done to win this in those final minutes?
Yeah, and I got to give credit to Gio. They needed another guy in there, and he basically went in there playing as like half a guy, like with one arm. If Gio shoots anywhere close to the percentage he's capable of shooting, I think they win that game. I mean, was he even like 30%? Was he even like 20%? Great struggle for him to shoot, with sort of what he was dealing with at that time. For me, the story was the game is I was waiting for OTM, to smell blood and just step on the Glock boys' neck, and I never felt like they did that. I didn't feel like they played with as much urgency as they could to really make a statement game, which this game could have been. And, I felt like there were some small things that could have happened in Glock Boys' way that really that game could have been OTM could have snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
No, totally. I mean, I don't really see this as much of an OTM upset, because I feel like they should have won by a lot more. It's a 4v3. Should have made a little bit of a game plan once you saw somebody go down, and said, yeah, we got to, even as, not honorable as it is, attack Gio on defense. The dude has one arm. You got to do what you got to do to win, and they just weren't doing it. You're playing, if they wanted to play honorable, they would have played 3-on-3. So they should have done something to capitalize on that four-man roster they had over them, but it just was a struggle until that fourth quarter where they kind of got down to the wire and kind of stepped up. Terrence Gallo had 16 points. I think he was one of the guys who really stepped up, getting a lot of offensive rebounds. And he was able to just position himself well when there was no guys to box him out down low to have him get the rebounds. Shaq put up 32 points. I mean, that's kind of the reason they were still in that game. Shaq putting up all the shots he did. He shoots very well when there's no one around him. A lot of these guys, miss open shots, 8.5-foot rims. They're not used to having these wide open shots on a smaller rim. It just gets to them. But Shaq does a really good job when he's left open, and he hit a lot of important shots in that fourth quarter. Yeah, not much to kind of analyze for both teams. I think we'll see Glock Boys come back stronger, and we'll see OTM go back to themselves. I think they play a couple teams with similar records. So yeah, it does shake up the standings a little bit. Glock Boys moving to 3-2, so 2 games in a row they've lost. But I definitely see them coming back, and if their team shows up, I see them winning again. So we'll move on to our last game, that being Top Dogs versus Gaughran. And this was the battle of the 0-win teams. Interesting game, I think. I think it's a lot more fun to watch a team, both teams who want to win that bad, who haven't won yet, play against each other. I think it's a very interesting matchup. Gaughran took this one 98-76. Huge Gaughran game. I don't think we really saw this. We said, maybe if Top Dogs don't show up, but a lot of their good players showed up, and they still took this loss. So credit to Gaughran. I mean, Kwame Bell led the way, 31 points. Explosive game. Most of that coming from the field, not the 3-point. Just rim running, getting those dunks. He had some crazy dunks. I'm sure we'll see in the top plays. Quandale Bushcarter also 21 points, 11 rebounds. He played that big man role they really needed very well. When it comes down to Gaughran's roster, it's the size that kills him. But when Quandale can really lock in as that big man, not get into foul trouble and get those rebounds and box out, it's a very different game for them. And I think it allows everyone else to open up and be able to take those shots and have more confidence when they got a bigger guy down there. So Quandale played his role perfectly this game, and I think that's why they got this win. Latrell Whitleson, somebody we don't really see talked about too much in this post-game show, but he scored 17 points. Shout out him. For Top Dogs, usual suspect Sean Yard scoring 30 points for them. Alain Leonard's first game for Top Dogs. I mean, who knows how long these guys have been on the roster. Just their first week, they're making an appearance in week 5. That's just how the Top Dogs roll. But he scored 28 points. Man, yeah, not too much to be said about Top Dogs. I mean, they just can't get their win. They've had closer games with better teams. So I'm not sure if that says something to discredit Top Dogs or maybe credit Gaughran there, because Top Dogs put up better fights against Who's Next, and we got us. So Gaughran, maybe it's becoming a little sleeper team in this league. We don't know. We'll see. Pierce, I'll talk to you. We'll talk to you in a second. Gaughran really, I think, locked in from 3-point, nearly 50% from 3. So talk about that kind of way they played, if that's the reason they won, was that 3-point.
Sure, I couldn't hear the last part of what you said. You said the reason they won was because
they locked in from 3. They almost had shot 50% from 3. So talk about their 3-point kind of game.
And we talked about Gaughran?
Yep, Gaughran.
Yep. Okay, so yes, I 100% noticed that. I remember at one point they had 3 or 4 threes in a row. And honestly, I apologize if I'm wrong or if I'm right on this. I think it was from the same player, but I don't remember who it was. I don't remember who it was, but I think it might have been the same player that got 3 in a row, or maybe even 4 in a row. But yeah, I remember about maybe the third quarter, they were shooting threes, and they weren't missing many. And I remember Top Dogs were trying to.
Top Dogs.
Yeah, they were trying to answer, and of course they tried, and they did pretty well, but couldn't really keep up with the threes. It's kind of hard. But at one point, they were actually very close in score. I think it was like it was single digits. It was like between two and I think it was like 3 and 5 points between each other. There might have even been a tie game around halftime ish, but then they just blasted off after that.
Yeah, I mean, top dogs, it's the defense that kills them every week, I think. Defensively, they just kind of they can stay consistent for the first half in offense, and you'll see them tying a team like Who's Next being tied or even being up in the first quarter or second quarter, but they just kind of crumble on defense, whether that's the roster not being there and just them tiring out very quickly and just lacking on defense each possession. When Gangrene's got a lot of runners like Kwame and Josh Monty that it's hard to keep up with when those guys are playing in the fourth quarter like they hadn't played all game. They just got infinite energy. Gangrene also won this by only shooting 5 free throws. So, I mean, credit to Gangrene. They really got this win, and they hustled for it. I mean, we talked last week, me and Steven, about their chemistry, and it seemed like they were locked in this game. I didn't really hear them arguing as much as they did last week. And they told me after the game they heard us talking and they actually locked in and they got this win. So, Matt, I want you to talk about Gangrene a little bit. Talk about how they kind of take this win into the future and forward down the line.
No, I think when Kwame Bell shows up, they have a chance. I thought last night was a statement game. I think if you're OTM, if you're We Got Us, I think there's a reason to look over your shoulder at that game. I just think the way this league is shaping up right now with kind of that middle area, if I can give Gangrene kind of their flowers, I think there's a lot for them to look at sort of when the power rankings come out and see a potential for them to sort of move up. And I think that's sort of what they need. I think there's a lot of guys on that team that really care. There's a lot of guys on that team that really want to see this team do a lot better, and I think there's a lot for them to positively look to the forward to the future and about that.
No, yeah, totally. I mean, there's teams that play at their own pace, but there's teams that kind of can shift around. I think Who's Next can kind of shift around and play to anybody's pace. But with Gangrene, they like to play at their pace and they play fast, and that kind of counters a team like We Got Us and OTM that are in that middle of the pack. That I think if we see a matchup from them later down the line, Gangrene can come away with the game if they just run the court like Kwame and Josh Monty do so well. They could sneak away with a game. So they're definitely a sleeper team that could be putting up an upset later down the line, maybe in the first round of the playoffs. So we'll see that from them. Hopefully see them kind of shake up the league. So yeah, we'll move on to our last little segment. We usually talk about awards and stuff this time of the year, but I think some of the races are either, too close to talk about right now or just for like MVP. Right now, I think Amandi's running away with it. So if you're listening and you want that award, you got to step up because Amandi's taking it right now. I'll say it right now. Yeah. But we're going to talk about a current all-legacy team. So an all-legacy team is like an all-pro team, all-NBA. So it's a starting 4. It's the best 4 guys. Usually it's position-based, but legacy is kind of positionless basketball. The height limit's 6'4", so everyone's kind of around the same height. No one's really necessarily a huge big man. But yeah, we're going to talk about kind of the top 4 guys we think are running the league right now. And we'll pick one player each. So Steven, I'll go to you first. Who do you want to take as your first guy? And then give him flowers. Talk about why you're taking him.
Yeah, I mean, I could go the obvious pick with Amondi Weaver, but I'm not done. I'm gonna save him for you guys. So I'm gonna go actually from OTM Shaq Murray, mainly because I mean we've all said it. He's like the leading scorer for that team. He drops 20 plus every single week. He's a great ball handler. Has a little bit of playmaking when he wants to. He's a great guy to have for this team, I believe. He's the reason why OTM is 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, matching him up, he doesn't have too many other scores on OTM with him, or natural scores, I should say. A lot of those guys kind of play their role, and he does the scoring. So it'd be interesting to see him kind of match up with an Amondi or a Darwin to kind of see what he can do playmaking wise. So definitely a cool player to have in an all legacy team. Pierce, I'm gonna go to you. Talk about one of the top guys in the league that you want to kind of give their flowers to.
I would say Weaver. I'd say Amandi Weaver.
Yeah, I mean, not too much to say about him that we haven't said so far. I mean, kind of running away with the MVP race. Um, he does everything well. I know his team criticizes him for his passing ability, but when you can score like him and you can kind of play like Giannis, there's not really much you can do. Um, maybe he could step up. I guess defensively he plays really well on ball. I think he can get his steals, but I think he would be great in the paint. I want to see him kind of get down low and kind of play that position, especially if Gio's hurt. I think they need a taller guy down there, and I would love to see a game where Amandi kind of sticks to the paint. I know he's used to kind of being out front right away and getting those fast breaks, and that's kind of the position he plays. But I think he would actually be a beast down low, and I would want to see that from him. But it's really the only critique we could give him right now. Matt, give me a top player who you want to give into the All Legacy team currently.
That's just all right if I defer to you and then go
Yeah.
last.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a few players left I think we could talk about, but I'll make it hard for Matt. So I'm gonna take I think the easier answer out of the way. I'm gonna say Sean Yard for top dogs. I mean, he's leading that way. I think he's second in scoring, or he's top 3 in scoring. Yeah, he just kind of leads that team. And you guys haven't been here in the past years, but Jared Hansen's usually the leader for Joey's team. But Sean Yard's kind of taken that role. He has championship experience from last session. He's won the championship, All-Star experience, 3-point champion. I just think he's currently their best player, and I think he's one of the best players in the league. And I think he could lead that team very well if he plays along Shaq, Amandi. I think he could actually, spread the floor a lot, get Shaq those open looks that he needs, and kind of clear the paint for Amandi. He's a great all-around player, and he'd be my pick. So, Matt, we'll go to you.
Okay. I kind of have two, but first I have to say my pick is. I really feel like he deserves to have some flowers. He's my favorite player to photograph. I'm a big Shy Hicks guy. I really love the energy he brings. I really love the intensity he brings. He's one of the guys in the league. I think just being out there, his physical presence has an effect on the game, and that's not something you can teach. That's literally his physical size, but also his personality, and he just adds a dimension to that team that I think is kind of special. Scores points, is tough to play against. There's a lot that I like there, but I mean the other person that I feel like I need to mention is Darwin. I think Darwin is in a big way a big part of the straw that stirs the drink on that team. You can hear him, when he's out, and that's a big part of sort of the organization that goes into who's next. That more and more I watch them as a bigger part of why they've been so good consistently. And if you qualify for attempts, as we talked earlier, he's right now leading, unless I'm missing him, in 3-point percentage. So can't discount that.
Yeah, I had Darwin and Shy written down as potential players too. So I think my 4 that I was going with was Sean, Darwin, Amandi. And I wrote down Gio, even though these last 2 weeks he's been hurt. I think he's just put up a very impressive season. I think he's kind of stepped it up in each category that he has in the last few seasons as well. I wrote down also potentially Derek or Jamari from We Got Us. Those are 2 guys that are leading that team in scoring, and I think could really step up in a few of their last games to kind of solidify that All-Star vote, maybe an all Legacy team vote. And then I wrote down Shy as well. I think he plays very smart. I think that's a way to kind of describe how he plays. Not sloppy, he hustles. He knows what his team needs to do to win, and he gives them those criticisms, at halftime, kind of corrections, get that team their heads straight and get them going. Shy plays very smart, and I've always said that he does, and I think he's a great person to have on an all-legacy team. And then I also wrote down Angel from Who's Next, because he's just stepped it up these last few weeks as their top guy. He's shooting 84% from the field, and he does qualify for attempts. I know a lot of these guys have only played 1 or 2 games that are leading the league in percentage, but Angel has played almost all of them, and he is leading the league in percentage from the field, which is very impressive when he's scoring 20 points back-to-back weeks. So yeah, I would definitely keep an eye on him. He could kind of take that role over if Gio doesn't play these next couple weeks with that injury. He could definitely sneak his way into the all legacy team, which would be cool. Yeah, some very interesting games coming up in the next few weeks. Let me actually pull them up, and we'll talk about our predictions for those, and then we can wrap up. Let me pull up the schedule. I didn't write them down. All right, so we got an interesting one. We got Top Dogs and Glock Boys. So this is a team, 2 teams that have been struggling to get their guys to show up. So depending who shows up for either team could really determine it. I mean, if Gio's hurt, if Day-Day's hurt, Glock Boys really don't have too much of a roster if those other guys who weren't there don't show up. I know Jay hasn't showed up in these last few weeks too. So it's an interesting game. We'll talk about them. We'll pick our predictions. Do Top Dogs get their first win? Do they smell blood? You know, they see this Glock Boys team kind of struggling. Does Joey get his guys to actually show up and he has a full team this week and they come away with this win? I think if the right guys show up, it's possible, but it's hard to bet against the current MVP runner, front runner with Amandi. I think he can pull off the impossible with almost winning a 3v4. So we'll see if he has a full team or not. Steven, who do you got winning this one?
I mean, this is kind of a tough one because, like you said, lineups kind of, you don't know what lineup you're playing until Monday at 9:00. So I'm going to base my answer off of the teams that we just saw this past month or yesterday. I'm going to say Glock Boys. I think something that we don't talk about with the Glock Boys is just how fast they are, like in a pace of play standpoint. Like they play insanely quick. They don't really have the ball that long on offense. They 3 passes and then it's a shot, and then most of the time it's gonna go in. So I'm gonna say Glock Boys in terms of just the speed differential.
Yeah, I think we've seen all these matchups so far this week, or so far this season. I think this is now where teams start playing against each other again. I think Glock Boys won this matchup by 20 last time we saw it. So teams looked a little different then, but just something to keep an eye on. Matt, who you got winning this one? Top Dogs or Glock Boys?
I got to come in and say this is the week Joey Zacco makes good, and Cody shows up, and Zach shows up, and they get it all together, and they put on the air show, and they look a little bit less like the rec team that they've looked like the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the potential for at least Top Dog. Glock Boys have shown their potential. Pierce, who do you got in this one?
Exactly what you were coming with when it came to attendance, who's going to show up. But with every variable considered, I would say Glock Boys. That's what I would go with. I just think Glock Boys would go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sticking with Glock Boys. Whether Gio shows up or not, I think if Amandi and Jay show up, I really don't see them losing. I mean, as long as they got 4 guys, I think Glock Boys can win this one. I know I've given Amandi. I know last season I always questioned them in B2A, but Amandi, I'm hopping on the bandwagon this season. I've put in all faith in you, so you got me on your side. I'm sticking with the Glock Boys this week. I know it's going to be hard coming off of a loss to the 0-4 team in Gaughran, Top Dogs. It'd be crazy to be like, oh yeah, we lost to the 0-4 team, but now we're going to beat one of the top teams for our first win instead of getting our first win off the 0-4 team. But I swear that's like how Joey's team does it. They somehow get away with their first win being off of one of the best teams after losing to one of the worst teams record-wise. So yeah, I still, that being said, going with Glock Boys. Next matchup. Let's see. Who's next? Gaughran. Now, who's next? Undefeated. Gaughran coming off hot after first win. Maybe they have some momentum. That being said, I'm picking who's next. I mean, it's just a hard team to go up against after your first win. It's just a tough way for Gaughran to kind of have their schedule lie, but that's how it is, and I'm sticking with who's next. It's just all the talent they've got, and they struggled this week. I think this week's going to be more of a bounce back, and I see them kind of pulling away with this win pretty easily. Matt, talk about it. Who you got?
I've got who's next. I want to see a game where Yala Smith just takes over. This would be a good game for Darwin. Just keep feeding him and just let him pound away.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough week for Quando, so he's got to definitely lock in the paint. And if he gets into foul trouble, it's going to be tough because they don't have a backup big. Pierce, who you got?
Something about it makes you really want to say Gangrene.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's it. I liked what I saw the other day. I think it's pretty even, and I feel like going with Gangrene.
Yeah, why not? Shake things up, make it interesting. Yeah. Steven, who you got?
I mean, I'm gonna go with who's next because, like you said, it's tough having your first win to go against the undefeated team in the league. But what I will say is, in week one, when these two teams last faced, Dan Green was leading by 13 points for the majority of that first half until they had those issues with just losing focus and letting the game slip away. So I don't disagree with Pierce. Like, I think we could see an upset for sure. But I'm gonna go with who's next just because of experience and. It's now 5 weeks and not week one. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
go with who's next.
if I remember correctly, they were winning that game pretty easily in that first quarter at least because they were just rim running and the shots weren't landing for who's next. But Gangrene kind of got into their own heads and stuff. But I'm telling y'all right now, I know y'all listen to the podcast. Just lock in. Let the refs call whatever they want. Don't let this game get to you and just play basketball. And you guys can shake up the league. And like I said about We Got Us, I know I'm boys with everyone on who's next, but as much as I am boys with them, I want to see them almost lose to make this league more interesting. Nobody wants to see a team win at all. Everyone bets or everyone wants to see the top team go down. And no matter who's on it, I do too almost. I just love to see interesting storylines kind of develop. And Gangrene, if you guys come off of being 0-4 2 weeks ago and then winning 2 games and defeating a completely or undefeated team, it's definitely going to shake everything up, and we'll have a lot to talk about going into the playoffs. So I would just for the host's standpoint, I would love to see Gangrene win this. I think who's next has got this, but Gangrene, man, lock in, play like you did, have fun, win or lose, just go out there, have fun. It's going to be a lot more of an impactful week for you. Going to our last matchup, we've got OTM, We Got Us. This is a interesting game. I think they're tied in the record, right next to each other in the standings. It's a very important game. I think this might be a harder game for us to predict. Steven, I'll go to you first. Who you got? We got Us or OTM?
I mean, this is definitely tough. This is gonna come down to the final 2 points. This is not gonna be a blowout whatsoever. But I think if I had to pick the team, I think I have to go We Got Us. Now, I will say, if Revelis shows up, your entire focus to have him on Shaq Murray the entire game. That is got to be his number one focus, strictly because if you hold Shaq Murray to under 20 to 15 points, most likely you are going to win the game. So if I'm going to say We Got Us, if they can prepare on defense correctly.
Yeah, this was a 5-point game last time these two teams played, and both teams have gotten better. I think Shaq. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Shaq scored 29. So, and Derek was there. So maybe Derek's learned a little bit. He has played a little better in those last couple games he played in. So defensively, if he shows up, locks in, I would pick We Got Us to win this, but OTM seems to be shaking up things lately in this league, coming off of 2 wins. So don't doubt them, but I'm sticking with We Got Us. I usually have in this post game show. So Matt, I'll go to you. Who you got winning this one? We Got Us or OTM?
I got We Got Us winning this game. If I was Shy Hicks, I would be hammering home the points of where they are currently in the standings, how that game went last week with OTM, and sort of the potential that they have to sort of with, Glock boys having some trouble, bringing players, and, there's great opportunity. And if there's anyone to deliver that message and get everyone going, it's him.
Yeah, this is definitely a big game standing wise. This could bump you down or bump you up. You definitely want to win this game if you're either two of these teams. Yeah. Pierce, who you picking? OTM or We Got Us?
I'm picking. I don't even know. It's so close. I mean, I'm thinking what Steven said, but I can't pick a side. I mean, I wanted to say OTM based on what I saw the other day, but I mean, it's just so close. Unless there's like a, God forbid, an injury or something, it's just going to be like, I don't know, like a tie game or something.
Down to the last two, yeah.
I was thinking, yeah. Well, that'd be really cool to see.
I haven't seen that yet.
Overtime. Yeah, we haven't seen that yet, and I haven't even.
Yeah,
really seen
I don't think we've seen an overtime game.
No, I don't think we have.
First week, I think there's two OT games last season, which was kind of funny. We still haven't seen the double OT in a while. I think we saw that once last season, but double OT is where it's first to score, and it's so exciting. So after that tip, it's just whoever scores, and teams lock in or teams like huck up a shot right away and win. It's a very fun to watch, but yeah, this is definitely a game that could go in OT. I'm gonna stick with my boys on We Got Us. I just think if everyone shows up, they've got what it takes to beat them. Yeah, we'll see everybody next week for week 6. Playoffs slowly approaching, award season slowly approaching. We're gonna have a lot to talk about next week, and I hope everyone tunes in. Thank you everyone for tuning in this week. Shout out Matt, shout out Pierce, shout out Steven. I've been your host, Cade, and we'll see everybody. Peace.